Good morning, good afternoon, don't say good night yet. We got a banger of a show. I know I say that the last few times, but we've had some really good guests. I gotta say, lately, we've always tried to have good guests on the show, and it's usually worked out. So I'm gonna keep rubbing whatever lucky quarter, whatever's going on there, keeps going well. Welcome to the show. I'm Max of the RHMax show. Today we have Bloobum. I really like that name. Every time I say it, it makes me think of a blue butt. I'm not sure that's where it comes from. We'll ask him though. We'll ask him. It could be a question. Talking all kinds of things. HEX, Pulse, all the pulses. Hedron, especially he's big in Hedron. Maximus DAO, the Icosa, the new coin coming out from Hedron folks as well. So it should be a great show. This is the bear market, so I know dim feels occur from time to time, but it gives you a break. It gives you some time to learn. I hope that myself and other folks in the streamer community can bring some happiness from time to time, give you some memes, give you some laughs, give you some hardcore education from time to time. That's what we try to bring to the show. If anyone complains about my microphone this time, I'm going to try to do my best. I swear I've had some echo chamber deals. I think it's the best. It's not going to get any better. I'm not changing my microphone again. So you just please bear with me. I think it'll be fine. In the bear market, bear with me, right? Be a bear. Be a good bear. All right, without further ado, I'm not going to make any more jokes. Let's bring him in. The man himself, in an undisclosed location that he may tell you where he is if he wants to. Bloobum, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Of course. This is going to be, I think that there's a lot of people who like you and like your content, like your discussion, like what you're about. So that's the kind of folks we like to have on the show for sure.
Very much.
We like to have controversial folks as well.
But. yeah. I'm not sure how controversial I am, but yeah, thank you very much.
Go ahead.
No, I really appreciate it. I think you've been doing some great shows, and I just want to say that it's fantastic to see new people streaming, and you're doing a fantastic job. Keep going. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've been grinding pretty hard, but I'm going to take a little bit of time off, maybe a week or so. I got some family and stuff like that, and I could use a break. It has been a long one. So yeah, this is the last stream before a little break, so it'll be good. But don't worry, I got plenty of videos scheduled. They're coming out in the next few weeks. It'll look like I didn't take a break at all in that way. But yeah, on a scale of 1 to Gunther, how controversial do you think you'll be today?
So Gunther is a 10, is he?
I guess we're doing that, yeah.
I've got no idea. I don't think I'm too controversial. Other people might disagree.
Okay. No worries. We like the 1s, we like the 10s, we like everything in the middle. No worries at all. Say hi to the chat real quick. Footsteps, let's go. Jerry's here, Steve's here. Some of my Washington State folks. Let's get the Hedron started. Who dat? Nice name. I like that. Red Squirrel. Always good to see Red Squirrel. Oi, oi. I've been watching The Boys, and when Billy Butcher says oi, now I think of Red Squirrel. So there's that. Let's see. I want to know who's in the thumbnail. Who that guy is in the thumbnail. Oh, yeah. Who is that guy in the thumbnail? That's, you got a beautiful website, by the way. I love visiting the website. Beautiful work. But yeah, Red Squirrel is curious. How'd you get there from where you are today? You look the same to me. You're both beautiful. So I don't know how'd you. Is it the? Have you been taking a break from? It sounds like you're traveling and stuff too. Is that? Are you just kind of hanging out in different places right now?
Yeah, I'm just kind of traveling the world at the moment. Just I'm hanging out with some other Hexicans here in Colombia. Patrick from Hex Lion, who's the other half of Abit and Patrick, who organised the tour and everything like that. And I'm staying in Patrick's beautiful apartment, hanging out with him.
That's awesome. It's nothing like traveling, get to see Hexicans, get to meet new people.
Yeah.
Let's get controversial. The first question before we get into your background, Dip Catcher says, "What'd you have for breakfast today?"
I had a cup of tea with some honey, and I had avocado on toast. And then I went out for a couple of double espressos, and I had a crate classic, which had lime and sugar. Yeah.
Lime and sugar.
Yeah.
I've never had a lime and sugar crepe. I love all crepes though. That sounds delicious.
It was.
Sounds delicious. It's like because Bloobum rocks, not me. I'm not the one that needs to be rocking right now. This guy. Blues 2 are for offensive, 1 over hearts. Only 2 for offensiveness, and he's number 1. Hey, well, we were doing like 1 as in the lowest, but we know what you get. We know what you mean. Definitely, we know what you mean. He's technically a 10 in the hearts in that case. What's up? Hey, Bugs. I'll have Steve translate later. Oh, yeah. Are you so Britain, Australia? I think I'm going with Australia.
Yeah, I'm Australian.
That's what I'm thinking.
An Aussie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I have friends from Australia. I've visited before. Melbourne and Sydney. Actually, sorry, not Melbourne. Gold Coast and Sydney. So I hope to get to Melbourne one day. Next win IG. Everyone keeps saying I should get Instagram. I don't think I can rock Instagram quite like GRC can and some of the other, or dare I say Richard. Although interesting, that would be interesting crossover tagging Richard and stuff on there. That could be fun actually. Yeah, these two guys, Jerry and Steve, I know them in real life, so they come here to troll and ask good questions sometimes. Yeah, let's get into it. I think I'm kind of curious. I know maybe a lot of people know you already too, but like, can you just kind of give us an intro of like, how'd you get into crypto? How'd you find Richard Hart products? How'd you get in the community, things like that?
Yep, sure. Well, I used to be an actor. I made solo theater shows and toured them around the world. Then I got into making music videos and short films and stuff. And ever since the early 90s, I've been very interested in how power moves in the world and how people gain power, how governments gain power. And I was a big follower of John Pilger and read Confessions of an Economic Hitman, followed Julian Assange very closely. He's the same age as me, from the same city. When he came out with the WikiLeaks, I was very over all of that. When the Visa and MasterCard banned WikiLeaks and they started accepting Bitcoin donations, and then soon after that, Bitcoin pumped. So WikiLeaks had, probably a pretty good war chest for a while. I just thought, well, this is the way around government. In 2015, like towards the end, like I think August or September or something like that, I read a book about Bitcoin and was blown away. Went, holy shit, this is it. This is going to be what internet money is, and it's a way around banks, around central banks. And I thought this is going to save the world. I started, looking into cryptocurrency, following the markets, seeing if I could, time when I came in and all that kind of stuff. I bought my first Bitcoin in 2016. Soon after that, I realized all of the other projects out there. I thought of myself as someone really smart and intelligent, and I'd be able to pick which ones the winners were going to be. I started to, I guess you could call it swing trading, which was just meant kind of me trading on the fickleness of what I happened to believe at the time. Missed out on some pumps, got out of other pumps too early, I held on to other things that were losing money for too long, fell for some scams, learnt my lessons. Then, in 2018, Bitcoin went on, or 17, Bitcoin went on its huge run, and all of a sudden I was kind of like paper rich for the first time in my life. And then it all crashed and I was paper poor again.
Paper poor, I like it. We need a meme for paper poor.
Yeah. And then I realized, I basically realized that it was going to be a multi-year bear. And I just swapped all of my alts back into Bitcoin and just sort of forgot about crypto for a while. Then in 2019, I was like, okay, the halvening's coming up again. It feels like stuff's about to pump again. I started looking into it, found out about Uniswap. All of a sudden, decentralized exchanges were way better. Started playing around a little bit. And then, years ago, I was watching a Bitcoin live stream and Richard Hart was on it. And I think he was just someone who I thought said really interesting things. Well, I'm not exactly sure why, but I thought he stood out in that live stream. And so I went and looked him up on Twitter and followed him. And at the time I thought, he just seems like he's one of these self-help guys, just trying to sell his book or whatever. And I kind of dismissed him as just one of those self-help guys, but I followed him on Twitter, and I was never big on Twitter. And then in 2020, I caught one of his tweets where he said you can get free HEX for having Bitcoin. I had Bitcoin that I had in my own wallet at the time of the snapshot, and I went, okay, I'm going to go claim my free HEX. Looked through it all, sussed it all out, looked safe. Loved actually doing it, like having to put the Bitcoin private key and sign that transaction in order to get the HEX and everything like that. Loved all the kind of little mechanics of it. Yeah. And then over the next 2 weeks, I just kept deep diving into HEX and then starting to watch like tons of, Richard's live streams from the past. So happy that they were timestamped because I could just go through to find out what I was interested in,
Timestamps are killer for those. So good. So good.
Yeah. Good on you, Vince, who I think was the main person who did those, was an absolute lifesaver for me. And so I just, and then within 2 weeks, I was selling my Bitcoin for HEX, basically, or not selling or swapping it. Yeah. Right. And I just thought, wow, he's solved the problem. He's solved it. It was such an elegant response and something very, very new. And I thought it was incredibly innovative. And it was just kind of obvious to me that it was going to do really well. And so I just kind of went all in, especially before big payday. I kind of like, I had this moment, like I've never really been in debt, but I had this moment of like, I've got a credit card. Okay, I'm going to max it out. Like, and pay the 10%, pay the 10% for the cash advance. It was just kind of like,
it kind of goes through your head, right? Pay the 10% to get that 100% or 1,000%, right?
Like it's something that you should never tell anyone to do, is to go into debt to buy crypto, especially on a credit card.
Do not do that.
Especially on a credit card. But I was just in this situation where I was like, wow, if ever there was a time to do it, now's the time. And it turned out to be a pretty smart decision in hindsight. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good decision for HEX. Yeah. Everyone out there listening, do not max out your credit card, especially in a very tumultuous bear market. But it is funny to like think about those things. I remember thinking back then, you just buy some on the credit card, it'll be fine. I'll pay it off when it goes to the moon. I'll pay it all off, and you're like, that is a very risky way of thinking, and not. It usually doesn't work out. But luckily, we found the most superior product in crypto. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty, I wouldn't say poor, but I've been on the poverty line for my whole life as an actor. Like it was always just like getting enough money for the next project, or like, and continuing along that way. And if I was down on money, then I'd just have to go and find someone, get a job or do something but I didn't really ever mind about money. It seemed to be that I always had enough to live, and that's all I really kind of needed. So for me, it was like, okay, if it all goes belly up, I'll just go back to my old life.
I think that's such an interesting background to come from, being because I mean, you think about it in the arts, most people, I think to go into the arts, you have to not care about money a lot, right? Because the chances of you making, unless you're like, you have this dream of Hollywood and you dream of making all this money and being this famous star and all that stuff, and that comes along with it. But in general, you kind of got to deprioritize wealth and finances and stuff because you want to pursue your dream, you want to pursue your creative passion. And I love that. I just think that you coming from that background, and now you're probably thinking about wealth a lot more often these days, although you still you still do a lot of creative things, I imagine, as well. It's such an interesting like confluence of like those two very different ideals that are having a crossover.
Yeah, I always chased experiences rather than money. I kind of, from a very young age, I thought, what's the point of chasing money? Like, so you have money. It to me, it didn't seem that kind of interesting just to chase money. And as an actor, it's funny because you have this in the back of your head. You have this little thing like there's a 0.0001% chance that I'm going to be incredibly successful as an actor, but pretty much you kind of have to go in knowing that I'm doing this for the experience, and if something happens from it, then that's a bonus. But like, there's a very good chance that, like, I know tons of really, really good performers who aren't famous at all. And I know, and I see tons of performers who are very famous who I think are not very interesting or good. So it's not really a meritocracy. But so much of that sort of stuff is taste. Whether someone is a good comedian or not is like, it's just
very subjective too. And who gets into it with the corporation that may be able to support them?
Who gets the opportunities? Yeah.
Exactly. That kind of reminds me, I mean, it just makes me think too of one of the things. I mean, luckily I can afford it and I don't need to monetize the channel because I don't like to be, at least my current mantra is I don't like to be paid for my creative work in a lot of ways, especially if it's, a hobby or something like that. So that makes me think of, just being able to pursue your passion. And a lot of times people, they're good at, they're good at whatever. They're good at computers. They're good at, all these things. People become developers because they love to code, and then they work for a company and they get burned out real fast, and they figure out what, it's, of course they need to do it for a living, but if they had the choice, they would like to have those days when they were coding because they like to code, not because they get a paycheck and they have to work for someone else to do it. So that's I love the creative aspect. I love all that is just so undervalued. I think in society, of course, you'd say musicians and artists and actors and things like that. The ones who aren't in Hollywood, who do great work, school teachers even, they're so underappreciated. And I think that can be, it's not quite healthy for society. And I hope we can turn that around a bit. Maybe crypto can help. Who knows? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
You have any projects that can help actors right now? Let's see.
It's difficult as an actor right now.
Yeah. I bet. So let's get a Hedron a bit. Why is Hedron so important, and like how does it help promote HEX? Is it meant to reward hexagons, or is this like a completely foundational ecosystem on its own? How do you think about Hedron?
I think of the way I think about Hedron is that with HEX, Richard Hart set up the game board, and Hedron and Maxi are the real first two kind of pieces that have been placed on that chessboard, because they both don't have admin keys, just like HEX, and because they're built on top of HEX, meaning that it's necessary for HEX to exist for them to exist. I think, to be perfectly honest, I think Alex, who's the Hedron developer, he's up there, like with Richard, in terms of genius and innovation kind of level. He's doing some amazing things. Like he's forking in Fura at the moment. He's building his own data center that he's going to have his own backup power for, to like run pulse nodes and stuff like that. He's doing some amazing stuff for the community. And the stuff that he's come up with Hedron is, I think, as innovative as HEX was. And even with Icosa, maybe even more so. Not necessarily, yeah. And I'd like to talk more about that.
Yeah, what is Icosa like? How's that going to play out with Hedron and all that?
Yeah, okay, it's really interesting. So let's assume that everyone here in this chat knows exactly what Hedron is, because you need to understand HEX to understand Hedron, and you need to understand Hedron in order to understand Icosa.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm going to assume that people understand HEX. They understand the share system in HEX. I'll assume that they understand Hedron, the basics of Hedron. And so what is Icosa? Icosa is basically a way to pump HEX and Hedron. And the way it does that is through allowing people to stake either Hedron or Icosa. Actually, there are three pools. There are three staking pools in the Icosa system. You can stake your Hedron. When you stake your Hedron, you're going to get back Icosa, okay, as a reward. You can stake Icosa. When you stake Icosa, you get Icosa and you get Hedron as a reward. And then the third pool is this NFT pool, in which case everyone is pouring money like ETH and USDC and HEX and I guess Hedron. I'm not sure what else. I think that's those ones that are what's being accepted. And whatever USD value that pool has, you will have a proportion of that you donated. So let's say you donated $100 and the whole pool is $1,000 so you'll have 10%. So you get an NFT that represents 10% of that pool. Okay, and then over time, at any time you can burn that NFT, and burning that NFT pays you all the yield that was accrued, which was your share of the pool. Okay, so over time, every day, Icosa is accrued to each account in that pool, and so when you burn it, you can get all that yield. But what you could also do with that NFT is just sell it, like on OpenSea or something. So this is an NFT which has accrued this much ICOSA and will be accruing more ICOSA into the future. It will have some sort of price associated with it. And then for the people who do burn it to collect the yield, that means that they're burning their share of the pool. And therefore, the people who are left in that pool are going to be earning more of a percentage or more of a share of the ICOSA that's generated for that pool. So it's a little bit of a game of chicken in a way. Although people are going to be able to sell the NFTs as well instead of just burning them. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of burning, because why would you burn something which is earning money just to give other people an advantage? But who knows what happens over time, and as those get burnt, then the people who stay in there for longer, they will accrue more and more ICOSA.
Is the gamification and type stuff with ICOSA, is that, people say, I think the biggest criticism of Hedron, maybe if you could dumb it down in one sentence, well, it's condemned forever. Is ICOSA meant to sort of like address some of that, or, and taking it the most generous way possible? Like, does it help, reduce the sell pressure and things like that? Or is it doing different directions?
Yeah, it definitely does. Let's go through them all. Okay, so let's go through the other two staking pools. The other two staking pools are just staking Hedron and just staking ICOSA. When you just stake your Hedron, you're basically locking up all of that Hedron. So locking up that Hedron is going to,
reduce
that supply of Hedron won't be there to be able to be sold for certain periods of time. So, and you'll be able to, collect ICOSA as you go. Then with the ICOSA train, the ICOSA staking, the way you get ICOSA in that pool is that you swap an HSI. So an HSI is like a HEX stake made through the Hedron contract.
Mm-hmm.
That HSI is sent to the ICOSA pool, the ICOSA contract. In return, you will get for that, like, depending on how much Hedron that could be borrowed from that divided by the share rate is how much, by the HEX share rate is how much ICOSA you will get. Then that Hedron, which is borrowed, that is what's paid to the ICOSA stakers. So that won't be necessarily a lot of money. But what's going to happen is because people are getting all of these HSIs, that's going to then all of those will go to auction, because they're being liquidated by the ICOSA contract and then sent to auction after 90 days. Someone comes in and can buy that for a very, very small amount, or relatively small amount of Hedron, but obviously it'll be bid up probably to around the price. And then all of that, of how much it costs to make that HEX stake or whatever, and then all of that Hedron is getting burnt.
Okay.
So, and the other thing is that because all of these like let's say you have 100 people make an HSI and send it to the contract, then in 90 days you'll have 100 HSIs coming up for auction. Or if you have 1,000 people making HSIs, you'll have 1,000 people sending, like 1,000 HSIs coming up for auction in 3 months' time, in 90 days. And so any Hedron paid for those is going to be burned, but also people are going to be like spending, like they're going to be, they're going to be spending that Hedron. I guess it's burnt, so I guess it's the same thing. But it's basically taking Hedron off the market, and then only a
So I like the fact that it piggybacks on the liquidation auctions. I think that's an interesting way to play off of the Hedron's native features already.
Yeah, and anyone is going to be able to do that at any time, even after in a year or 2 years' time, you'll be able to make an HSI, send it to that contract to get ICOSA. So that's probably the quickest way to get the most actually, I don't know. There's too many variables. But yeah, so that's why I think it's, and because these people are incentivized to make these HSIs, that's a whole lot of HEX getting locked up for 15 years as well. So you have a whole lot of HEX getting locked up for 15 years. You have a lot of Hedron getting burnt. You have a whole lot of Hedron getting locked up. People are highly incentivized to lock up Icosa as well. And so, yeah, I think what Alex has created is kind of genius level, to be perfectly honest. And when I first kind of like, when he first just started describing it all, and I was just like, oh, what's all this? It's very hard to wrap your head around the whole thing. It's really taken me a couple of weeks of coming back, asking stupid questions, and then realizing, oh, that was a stupid question. Really just kind of, and I even had to draw it out visually for myself. There are some graphics going to be coming out to help explain it to people. But it's definitely like, I think it's going to be bullish for Hedron and Icosa and HEX, and over the short term and the long term. Let me give you a bit of alpha. Here's the alpha.
Okay.
So each of these pools, each of these three pools, the way they get Icosa is by how much Hedron is burnt in the system divided by the HEX share rate. Now, the HEX share rate at the moment is like what, 22,800 HEX per T-share. So for the contract, it'll be divided by 228,000 by 228,000. So whatever and so whatever Hedron is burnt in the system, see what happens is, because we've had Hedron going for a while and a whole lot of Hedron has already been burnt, there's about 20 trillion, I think, Hedron that has already been burnt. And so that 20 trillion that is divided by the HEX share rate to give out to as Icosa, that's going to be distributed in the first 90 days. So for the first 90 days, people are going to be highly incentivized to be in these pools. And especially, I think, the HSI, the Icosa one, because you'll send an HSI and that will immediately get you Icosa. And remember, it's going to be the amount of Hedron that's borrowed on that HSI divided by the HEX share rate. And that's going to give you a lot of Icosa. Then because like if you have a certain percentage of the total Icosa, like depending on whether you're a squid, blah blah blah, they'll have different terms for those as well. But basically, you'll have to lock up. The bigger you have, the more of a bonus you'll get, but also the longer it will have to be locked up for. And so I think that because that 20 trillion that's already been burned is going to be distributed over the first 90 days, I think that pool is going to earn a lot of Icosa in the early days. The Hedron staking, because there's so many more people with Hedron, I think because you're getting that, how much Icosa you get will be dependent on, that how much is, so you'll just be getting a little, you won't be able to get as big a share because there'll be so many people staking Hedron. And so that will pay a little bit less than that, but it'll depend on how many other people are going into that pool. And then the NFT pool is another thing, which I think people are going to be highly incentivized to get in on day one. There's going to be a lot of day one FOMO to get into these things because you want to start earning immediately, especially from this greater kind of pool.
That's what I wanted to ask too. Like, how can people get started in, early in this? Like, what is the process for participating?
There's so many ways to play this. Look, basically anyone who has a HEX stake can mint Hedron. And so either you could buy Hedron and just stake it, or you could mint some Hedron you have from some of your stakes and you could stake that. You could just hold it and then wait 90 days and see if you can pick up cheap HEX stakes in the auctions. Like if you have 1,000 HSIs being auctioned on one day, 90 days from, or within a few days, like around 90 days after the launch of Icosa, there's going to be opportunities there to pick up some really cheap HEX stakes. And so even just holding your Hedron for those auctions might be a really good play.
Yeah, because I think there's probably a few people who have maybe several billion Hedron, who may be gearing up, especially a couple weeks ago, I tweeted, I was like, this looks pretty interesting. Hedron's at, around 2,500. It has never been this low. I've seen it before. And then lo and behold, a couple weeks later, maybe a couple days ago, it was at, it went up 3 or 4x. And that's when you saw, in that phase, if you would have, you would have been able to accumulate a lot. It went way down from its, from the launch and all that stuff. So it's interesting to see, like, where is the accumulation started because that could have been the local bottom, or did the accumulation start because of Icosa and new projects and being able to use Hedron to participate in these things?
I don't know. I'd have to guess, and I would say it's because of the new announcement of what Alex has created. I think it's just bullish news, or it was like by the rumor kind of thing, and so that's why you saw that little pump. But I don't know. It's so hard to like attribute motivation to why people buy or sell, why mass amounts of people buy or sell, and all we can really do is kind of guess at them, what the narrative is and what they're thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Shout out to Alex as well. I would love to have you on the show sometime, for sure, if you're interested. But I think Bloobum he's representing pretty well right now, But feel free to make any corrections. I'm sure that won't make him nervous at all.
Look, I know that I'm going to be making mistakes with this stuff because it's complex and there's lots of little nuances to it. So yeah, please correct me if I say anything wrong.
Man, you're doing. I mean, being ignorant of the project until you just explained it. Well, I did watch Crypto Sloth's video. He did a great job on that one, and I know they've been talking about it on Crypto in the Morning and stuff too. But no, for sure, this is we're learning a lot. Oh, I think you're doing a good job. He says doing all thumbs up.
Good.
So interesting. Okay, so let's pivot a little bit into Maxi. I want to talk about Maxi a little bit. So one of the arguments you hear with Maxi sometime, or I've heard with Maxi, I shouldn't assume anyone else has been heard too much of these things, but is that, why invest in Maxi? Are you just, if at best, if it's always going to be a 60% premium or 100% premium on HEX or something, is it just this, is it too safe in a way? Like, I always think this argument is funny. Is it too safe to invest in it? Why not, go get another coin that can get you a, 1,000x or whatever it is? Why not buy, take the money and buy Pulse and PulseX when it comes out after the dip, blah, blah, blah. So how would you describe like the sort of ethos of holding Maxi, and why is it a good idea? Like, why do you even need to explain why it's a good idea?
I mean, Maxi is pretty brilliant in its simplicity, in that it's just far better to hold Maxi than it is to hold liquid HEX. If you're holding liquid HEX, you're getting diluted over time. But with Maxi, you're getting the most amount of yield that you could get on that stake. And so it's it's just I think Maxi was quite brilliant. It was also quite brilliant because it's very simple for people to understand. That's the one thing that's got me a little bit kind of not worried or concerned, more just kind of like intrigued as to what will happen, is that the new tokens, base and team, and also all of the Icosa stuff, is really adding a level of complexity to something that already people find hard to understand. And so I'll be interested to see how that affects the market, like whether people, how people play it and how people understand it. But no, I love Maxi. I think it's fantastic. To me, it's at a premium now, and I would differentiate the premium between it and HEX, and its worth, because its worth is the HEX in it plus whatever yield that it's earned plus whatever Hedron it's accruing every day, and that's why. I mean, it's much more of a premium over that kind of price, but that makes sense to me, and it also makes sense to me that towards the end of the stake, that will come down until it's worth what it's worth. You know what I mean? Like, so it might be in a premium now, and it might stay for the whole length of time, or until year 13 or something like that. I don't know, but at the end of the stake, it will come down to be its correct valuation,
or go up to its correct valuation.
Or go up to its correct valuation if it's below it. I don't think it'll be but it doesn't seem like it'll ever be below its valuation. It seems like there's not too many Maxi holders, and the people who are holding know exactly its worth, and they're holding it. They're not selling it.
Well, how do you value something? How do you value the play on a 5555 stake? It's just one of those things that just when I think about it, just I have no idea how to calculate it. I know it's going to be good. I know it's going to be, you know, I totally believe in HEX's price for the foreseeable future, or the unforeseeable future, I guess, too.
Yeah.
But how do you even start to you know, evaluate something like that?
Yeah, I think maybe the cost. I mean, there's a number of ways, but the cost, what it would cost you to get into that same position today, maybe.
Well, and the gas, I mean, of course, the gas savings is a given as well. But who knows what the gas price is going to be then? On Ethereum, and then we get it on Pulse. I mean, there's just so many good things going on with it. Just one of those things. I think Maxi is for me, it's the hardest one to evaluate what it should be worth and what it will be worth. But I'm so glad it exists. I mean, it is Dip Catcher, Gold Key, all the folks have done a great job on it. So always fun to talk about what Maxi is going to be doing, because it seems like there's all these things that just keep pulling its in for years and years and years to in our best interest as well.
I think what they're doing is pretty bullish for Maxi. I think the team and the base tokens are going to be bullish for Maxi, especially if people burn, you know, Maxi.
That's what I want to ask.
To get team.
How do you think team and base and things like that? How does that play into Maxi and things?
Look, it's very, very hard for me to burn any Maxi, especially when, like, I'll be losing part of that value probably, because the way they've structured it is, what is it? I forget what the 20% and the 30% go to, but then 50% are going for are going to them, for, you know, that we have kind of any expectations about. But the thing is that people who burn that Maxi, means all of the other hot Maxi holders, what they're holding will increase in value because other people are burning their Maxi, so you'll increase your share. So there's a really strong argument to not burn any Maxi and just hold it.
Don't you like? There's a really good strong argument for that.
Yeah, I do.
So on that point, like how will you get people to get the new token when they don't want to release this one?
Well, I think you're kind of investing in the team, like in Gold Key and Hedron and Dipcatcher, and because like there's there's no promises obviously, but if you hold team, that probably means you'll be getting some sort of payout for future things that they develop. And we don't know what they're going to develop. Maybe they don't even know what they're going to develop. You know, probably they don't even know what they're going to develop. In terms of base, I mean, I don't think it will be as valuable as Maxi, but I can see it being better than just holding liquid HEX. And therefore, I think it will have a smaller premium than Maxi. It's also kind of like, it's interesting. Like one of the other things about, like one of the other ways you can make money at the moment is by being a liquidity provider. And all of these things are going to take away the coins that people have been liquidity providing. And so that's also a bit of a pumper mentor, because that means that if you do liquidity provide, you'll be getting a bigger share if there's less people liquidity providing. And so it's also a good tactic to go, okay, I'm just going to hold all of this stuff and just going to liquidity provide and assume that other people start FOMOing into all of these different pools, and people are still going to be trading and everything like that. And so there's really is a number of ways to play all of this, you know. Like I can see how you wouldn't mint team and you just hold Maxi because your Maxi is going to increase in value. I mean, I really like Dipcatcher and Gold Key, and so I would maybe like my thinking has been I'm going to like burn a small amount of Maxi because I just want to support those guys, and I think it's an interesting kind of project and concept, and it's worth a little pump, but I don't think it's like nothing is worth going all in on. Like, oh, I'm going to go all in on this tactic. I think you should really just like play and dabble in a bit each and just see how things play out over time. There's so many choices, you know.
Sorry, did you say you were going to max out your credit card, the bear market, to go all in a Maxi? Is that what I heard? That you did that?
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Not doing the credit card thing anymore. Fuck that.
I don't blame you. They don't have a lot of good rates these days, I'll say, no matter how much money you got. Let's see, Dipcatcher's got a comment. Let me talk to the chat. Very good comments coming from appreciated Alex and Dipcatcher, both filling in, confirming some things, sent some really good comments. Very small premium discount base, pretty sure you do. Well, there you go. I like it. Always good to have the founders here to say some good points.
I mean, with Maxi, like you could have put HEX in the contract, and then a couple of weeks later, or a few weeks later, pulled out, 1.5 times what the amount of hexes that you put into it. That was the premium, and now it's up to 1.82 or whatever. So I mean, a quick play could also just be, if you think the same thing is going to happen with base, maybe not as high a premium, but let's say it's a 20% premium. Just put in and you've got an easy 20%,
Right. Good point. Say hi to chat real quick. Jerry Oak Smith, Alex, ever said crypto footsteps. Everyone appreciate it. People have been sharing the link. Number go up, so appreciate that. Again, if you're not subbed, Jerry mentioned that I have, let's see, there's 63 more to go. If you'd like to get me to 1K today, that would be cool. Totally unexpected, but that would be cool. If you would like to sub, if you're not already subbed, and if you're already subbed, then tell a friend who isn't subbed. You can do that. Strategy. We can talk about strategies on that part, but that's way less interesting than Maxi. It's hard to evaluate TeamView. Oh, you're killing me, Dipcatcher. I can't evaluate Maxi, and now you're saying Team is going to be even harder. Maybe I just keep buying and holding. If I were to buy and hold, I wonder if that would be the shortcut to all this. How do you price the lifetime earning base plus the contracts? No expectations, but other contracts people may build that pay Team. Very interesting. You heard it here.
Yeah. So it's kind of like investing in really smart guys.
Yeah. I mean, what is that another concept that Richard popularized? Investing in smart guys?
I don't think so. No, I don't think. Maybe people do because they think he's intelligent. But I always kind of separated Richard taught me heaps, like tons. And I think he's very intelligent. But the reason that I invest in HEX is not because Richard is intelligent. It's because HEX is amazing and it's a beautiful design and system. And I think over the long term, the way it's going to play out is it's going to increase in value and it's going to be an incredible store of value.
Well, I always like to see. Go ahead.
No, and it's the same with Alex. You know what I mean? I think he's incredibly smart. When he first came up with Icosa, I was very skeptical of it, to be perfectly honest. Especially because he called it a meme coin at the start. I was like, and so I thought, okay, let's go for the meme coin idea and let's really push that. But it's not a meme coin at all. It's a highly utilitarian, coin, token, and that's really going to be probably its strength. So, I mean, I always thought you could also add the meme element on top of it. You know what I mean? Have all this amazing utility and this functionality, and then also chuck on a meme on top of it because everything is a meme to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, the economy is a meme right now, isn't it?
I mean, stocks are memes. Yeah. They trade multiples above their actual value. In Australia, I remember one statistic in Australia was 50% or 70% of companies on the Australian Stock Exchange are zombie companies. It means they can't even raise enough money to pay off the interest on the debt that they have.
Wow.
So it's how's that not buying that stock? How's that not a meme stock?
Well, if you
how's that not only meme value?
all they need is that Wall Street bets to get them a GameStop.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not what you should be hoping for sure. Yeah. I mean, another concept that Richard has talked about too that I think is so underrated. I'm someone who studies a lot of mental models. and just ways to think about the world. And I think one of the most interesting ones I want to bring up today too is compound interest. I think everything, and Naval, so I follow another person named Naval Ravikant. It's a Silicon Valley entrepreneur, wealth, wisdom, happiness, all the good stuff that Richard put in Scivive as well. But I mean, he even talks about too, like all the benefits in life come from compound interest, relationships, habits, anything important, it builds up over time. And that could be your good habits and it could be your bad habits. But if you keep doing something over and over and over and you keep growing in it, I mean, relationship, like when you call somebody on the phone, you never met them before and they treat you as a stranger, that's because you have no relationship, right? If you talk to them on the phone, you meet them in person, your relationship compounds. And one day, hey, they could be your best friend. They could do business deals with them, things like that. So the effects of compound interest are something that I think everyone kind of has this intuition about, but nobody really like puts them to work. And especially in wealth creation, oh my gosh, that's how you do it. That is you keep, money over DCA, keep putting in money in over time. You keep making good financial decisions. You keep investing in projects that are superior and on the market. And hey, in my opinion, the Richard Heart ecosystem, I don't really fool with anything else these days. It's everything in the ecosystem pretty much. And of course, any coin he does, I'm in for. So I think compound interest, you should avoid getting worse with your bad habits because they will compound as well. If you're a drug addict, that's a compound. You're going to get compounding interest in a negative way. But if you're, if you're making good, wise financial decisions, if you're trying to put yourself in a position to be happy and giving yourself a good environment to build upon that, it's going to be good for you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, compound interest is very fundamental to understand, especially within the HEX ecosystem.
And, yeah, I didn't even think about HEX when I was talking about the whole thing, but yes, there you go, another example. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Meme coins, team coins. They rhymed. Was that on purpose? Would there be a meme? How would you pronounce TETE? I don't know.
Tete?
Tete? Yeah.
My sister pronounces meme mem.
Mem. So
yeah.
I think I was in the group of Mimi for a long time. What the hell is this Mimi stuff? And then a long time ago. And then I was like, somebody said meme. I'm like, meme? Is that, how do you spell that? Oh, M-E-M-E. Okay. So if anyone can pronounce TETE, which may be a future coin by Dipcatcher, he called it, not me. I'm just an ideal man right here. Let me know how that's pronounced. We've guessed. So you got Bloobum. Titty? So we got two guesses. You said TT and Titty, and I got Tete.
Tet.
Interesting. Tet.
Maybe.
Tet. Yeah. Well, if you try to play off a meme, it would be.
In French, you'd say mem, and say tet means head.
Oh.
Yeah.
T means head. Okay, cool. Any French people on chat, jump in there too. We need you for this important question. Yeah, compound interest is key. Perfect. Ooh, I like it. You earn it where you pay it. That is a great one to internalize for sure. Let's talk about HEX and even PulseChain. What, in your opinion, what are the biggest obstacles we need to overcome for mass adoption? I know it's such like a broad general question, but like what is, Richard's doing all he can as far as outrage marketing, all these things, getting attention to himself, which the idea is to lead to the products. There's a lot of Hexicans out there and Pulsicans out there doing mail, snail mail, putting stuff out there to rich neighborhoods, all that stuff, and all these NASCAR things like that. What is in the way? Is it literally just people can't wrap their head around it? The scam label that's unjustifiable, all this stuff. Like, what is PulseChain 2 or forking Ethereum? What do we need to do to have, instead of 200K holders, how do we get to 1 million?
I think we're doing everything great. I think that everyone's going to have very different ways of going out and onboarding. Some are going to work, some are not going to work. As long as we have more and more different people going out in different ways to onboard. I think Hexicans are really smart. We've easily, I think it's all going fine. It's all going kind of according to plan. It's just going to take time for people to catch on to it. I think that once PulseChain comes out and we massively reduce the fees to onboard people, and then if we have a much easier onboarding process, user experience, there's always going to be that kind of that sticky point of where fiat meets crypto, getting your fiat into crypto, that governments will have control over to an extent. I think that is probably going to be that and gatekeeping. It's pretty ironic that like CoinMarketCap can be so off on their data, yet they're a data company that everybody in the space watches. Like you would have thought that once it started getting known that they had bad data, people would just leave that platform, but they don't.
So the argument for CoinMarketCap is that is it not listed on a centralized exchange that gets enough volume to?
I mean, they've just made.
I mean, that's what they say. At least that's what they say.
Yeah.
That's the official argument for it.
But you know, they still fuck with the data. You know, they leave it at 201, and they you know. And then I looked at CoinGecko; they don't even have a market cap for it. You know, so.
What happened with CoinGecko? I thought we liked CoinGecko like a year or two ago, and then something happened. Did they just like go nuts over there? What happened with that?
No, I don't think we ever liked CoinGecko. I think they've always been pretty shitty towards HEX.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Nomics has always been on Team HEX. Is that
pretty much? Yeah, pretty much. There was a moment where Clay, the guy who runs Nomics, started looking into like how much the OA controlled, and decided to readjust HEX's market cap because he didn't think that those OA coins should be counted, and a lot of hexagons got really well. A lot of hexagons got, because we were up at number 3 in the rankings, and it looked like we were heading towards flipping ETH. And around that time, that's when he had another look at all of the addresses, and he decided to rank it a lot lower. But it's a bit unfair because they don't necessarily treat other cryptocurrencies the same way. And it's difficult because all of these cryptocurrencies are structured so differently. And so it becomes very much a human choice whether you decide that these coins in this address are part of the market cap, but these over on this other coin, these coins in this address are not part of the market cap. And so, you know, to an extent, HEX did gain the market cap by having the OA control so many of them and just holding them liquid, not doing anything with them. So it's kind of like supply, but it's not really, because it's just sitting there, not being used. And so that's what gave HEX a really high market cap, and everyone was very aware of that. I'm sure Richard was very aware of that. This is a way of gaining market cap, because market cap is such a silly metric to compare these things across. And so, I really like Clay. I thought he's been really open to you know, hexagons and talking to people and stuff like that. I understand that people were really pissed off when he decided to change how they measure things, and that put HEX lower. At the time, I was like, well, it just means we get to climb that ranking again, and we just get to have this, because there was this whole time when we were outside of the top 10, then we were inside the top 10, and we're getting higher and higher, and everyone's like, whoa. So that's going to happen again. You know, that'll just happen again as HEX price gets higher.
Well, I think too that you could even look at it as an affirmation that he would, you know, consider the OA coins outside the market cap, regardless of how it affected it. You could see a parallel between like Satoshi, right? Satoshi's coins. Should you count Satoshi's coins?
And they do. They do
nice
count
in a way, but
they do count Satoshi's coins as part of the market cap. So take that for what you will.
Right. This is a good point, I thought, from D Angel. 1 million university students on board, I believe it would be the word. That is anyone doing university marketing? Have anyone seen posters or like giving seminars or teaching a class in crypto? And hey, let's throw a DeFi class and mention HEX. Like, anyone do anything like that yet?
Not that I've heard of. It's a great idea, D. You should fucking get right onto that. I think anyone getting out the word in any way possible, according to what makes you happy and excites you to do. Like, I don't like people doing work for these things and then feeling resentment that their work is not getting rewarded enough. Like the reward is in whatever you do for, you know, for the system, I think.
Yeah. I do that to a fault sometimes myself. Of I'll do something, won't tell anyone about it. You know, maybe promote something, or you know, buy. I mean, even at Pulse, hopefully I'll be at PulseCon, and if I do, I'll have a bunch of Richard Hart Maxi shirts that are pretty interesting. I think not with my name or anything on them, just general Maxi shirts. And I'll pay for myself, and I'm going to give them away. I'm not going to charge anything. I don't want to charge anything. And I mean, okay, I'm telling you about this, but like I've done other things to promote HEX that I haven't told anyone about. I probably never will in a way that I want something back from it to, you know, put my own bags, to support the community, to get the ideals out there, things like that. And I would, you know, even a lot of stuff I don't even tweet about, just because I don't need that back. You know, I'm doing it for a reason other than to be seen or things like that. I don't know if you call it virtue signaling or otherwise, but like, I don't know. Some people would even say I'm virtue signaling now by telling you I don't tell anyone about it, blah, blah, blah. That's a weird rabbit hole too. But anyways, you reminded me of that, of like, you know, I do things to a fault that I probably should get some credit for, but I never tell anyone about. And everyone's like, oh, my wife or somebody like, oh, why don't you tell people about them? I don't need that. It's not my goal. So
I spent many years trying to be popular, like as a theater actor, like literally handing out flyers to my show on the streets of cities, putting up posters, designing all the posters myself, going out there, going to do promotional things at comedy nights, like trying to get as many people following me and all of that kind of stuff. And when all this kind of came about, and I thought I want to have a presence to tell people about it, because about crypto and stuff like that, I didn't want to go down that hole of trying to attract the most amount of people as possible. Like whatever comes, I feel. And I don't want to make it something that, oh, I'm lacking enough people following me. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure. Yeah, I think I tend to avoid situations too where if I don't get to a certain number or whatever, I'll be disappointed. So I don't even want to, unless I'm rock solid, this is going to happen. I don't even want to talk about it because I don't want to face the disappointment too. So maybe that kind of thing. So I do try to set up my life to optimize towards happiness and positive energy and good feelings.
Yeah, and I think everyone's different, you know what I mean? Like if I was, like it's also got to do with age, I think. Like if you have it's really good to have goals and to accomplish goals. But because I'm a bit older, and so like I've had lots of goals that I've accomplished in my life, and when you accomplish them, you kind of go, oh, is that it? What's next?
Yeah.
Now I have to set another arbitrary goal to do something. And so my journey at the moment has been way more just living in the present and not worrying too much about, you know, the future or the past really, and just
way to look at it.
Yeah.
I was just at a Oakhart's talk about PulseX t-shirt. I got some t-shirts. I've been getting t-shirts from places. I thought one of them was in the UK. I don't know. I'm just gonna say Google it. Man, what is it? One I was talking to Crypto Styles. She asked where I got one of my shirts the other day, and man, it was like not spread tees, but tees something. They have a bunch of HEX shirts and stuff on there. I'll have to just Google for PulseX shirts and you can click shopping on the Google tab, and it will give you a bunch of different interesting places. Which yep, right, clout chasing. There you go. That's what it's called. So I don't know what some of these words. I never even use the phrases, so like I don't even know how to describe them properly sometimes. Okay, we had a question here from Kaiser. When will Icosa Hedron staking launch? Good one.
Yeah, it's hopefully July. That's what Alex has said. Hopefully July. We don't know if that's the start of July or the end of July, or if he'll get everything done in time for July. I think he's done the contracts. What he needs, what he's working on, amongst many things, is the front end. So it'll be like the Hedron DApp version 2. So I think it'll be a DApp where you can stake and unstake native stakes. You can stake and unstake HSIs. You can mint your Hedron. You'll be able to, and you'll be able to stake your Hedron and stake your Icosa, and all of that stuff will all be in one place.
So yeah, 2 more weeks.
It's coming up. Yeah. In terms of getting prepared for it, I've just tried to learn. I mean, my advice is to learn about all of this as much as possible, so that you can make your own informed decision. It is kind of complex, but I think that one or a couple of ways you could kind of prepare for it is start buying some Hedron if you think it's cheap, if you think it's on the dip, and then if you plan to sacrifice an HSI to get Hedron, you're probably better off going, okay, making it now, because it'll be divided by whatever the HEX share rate is, and that HEX share rate goes up every day. So if you make your HSI now, you'll be getting in at the best share rate, so you'll be getting the most amount of Hedron that then gets turned into Icosa.
Right.
Yeah. And but we're really just trying to understand it to try to know what your strategy is going to be. But there are a number of ways to play this. You can even just hold Hedron, honestly. Like maybe stake it when it comes up. The NFT one is going to be interesting to see how much gets put into that, and how that plays out. I think the Icosa staking is going to probably be I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to work out how all of these, which is going to be the best tactic. I think they're all going to be pretty good tactics, to be honest. And you don't even have to buy Hedron. If you just have HEX stakes, you can mint your own Hedron. So that's a tactic as well. Just stake HEX.
Stake HEX. Another question here. Is there a testnet period for Icosa, or is it just going to be released?
No, there'll be a testnet period. Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
I think my headphones died.
Oh, did they? I can hear you. No
I
problem.
can't hear anything.
Yeah.
Weird. Die. Test 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I can hear you. You can't hear me?
Oh, I'm back. Yeah, there we go. Or maybe you're back. One of us are back.
Connection issue.
Yeah, sorry about that. Let me connection. I lost the keyboard. Weird. My laptop is like having a laptop fart right now on the Bluetooth side. I got another question here.
Yeah, good question. Okay, so in each of these pools, there are 3 pools. There's the Icosa staking, the Hedron staking, and the NFT staking. You'll be able to hold all 3 of those in one address, but you can only hold one of each 3 in the address. So if you put in towards the NFT, there's only going to be one of those in your address. If you stake Hedron, you're only going to be able to stake Hedron once in each address. You can also then make new addresses for that same private key, or you can make a completely new private key and have a new addresses, and you could separate stuff out like that. It might be a tactic with the NFT is rather than putting all of your money that you want to give to that in one sort of thing, you might split it up into 5, and therefore at some point, if they're worth a bit, you can just take one and sell it, or take another one and burn it for the yield. That will give you a little bit more flexibility. But again, it's going to be a long-term game, that NFT thing, because people will drop out, and as people drop out, the others will become more valuable. So that's a real diamond hand game.
Not cabbage hands, diamond hands only.
Yeah.
Another question from Kaisa. What's going to be the APR percentage if you stake Hedron or Icosa?
It's we actually can't work it out because it's so heavily dependent on human behavior and what people do. And so you can make a few assumptions and guess APR, but in the end, also because it's going to be dependent on the USD value of Icosa and the USD value of Hedron and the USD value of HEX. So all of those values are going to, so in terms of working out an APR in terms of USD, I think it's going to be in the too hard basket, to be honest.
Okay. If say Richard Hart never existed, none of the projects came from it. Yeah, maybe they're on other platforms, but they're not all in this ecosystem, things like that. In this shiny object ecosystem that we're building with PulseChain. I love the shiny object ecosystem. We're keeping people in. I love that fact of PulseChain. That's a very underrated supplemental, I think. What do you think you'd be doing? Like, what projects do you think you'd be into, or another community?
I've got no idea, man. I've got no idea.
You'd just be acting about crypto. There's nothing.
But you know, I was in crypto since 2016 when I first bought my first Bitcoin, and up until 2020, I never had a conversation with anyone about cryptocurrency. Like, I mean, I told my friends about stuff and blah blah blah, but no one else who actually knew. It was only really until HEX came along that I actually found the community and could have discussions about stuff with people and stuff like that. Beforehand, I wasn't like, I was never, I actually joined a crypto community in 2020 and then at the same time on Facebook, because I just wanted to talk to people so badly about all this stuff that I was learning. And then I found out about HEX, and then that cryptocurrency group just kind of, well, it was Nuggets News and
Nuggets News, nice.
Nuggets News, the guy who was ended up being kind of destroyed by Richard on stream, and who ended up, turns out later, had maybe some gambling issues, and, I don't know, back pain issues.
Oh,
but anyway, I got kicked out of that group pretty quickly because I found out about HEX and like told them about HEX, and they banned me for talking about HEX. And so I was like, stuff you guys, yeah.
Never heard that before. Getting banned for talking about HEX. That's never happened. So much gatekeep, so little time.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I always wondered that too. If Richard didn't exist or didn't get it, he stayed at Bitcoin Maxi even. I wonder if he stayed at Bitcoin Maxi. He never created HEX. CFD token was before HEX, historical wise. It almost happened. And then PulseChain and stuff like that. I think I would still be, because I started following Richard right after I got into crypto, 2017. Been in crypto very, very short period of time and started following him. And he was kind of my mentor in that way through things. Of course, passive mentor. I'm just trying to figure out this, like, what makes sense in the space. And when he started doing his own projects, of course, I was already in. He got me through the self-development stuff, and then I stayed for the mad gains. I'll say it like that. But I wonder, I would probably just be, I don't know, into some shit coins. Probably not meme coins, I don't think. I don't know. Maybe I'd be like an Ethereum Maxi or something like that. Who knows?
I think I'd still be in the hope that cryptocurrency can save the world, because I think like the world needs a place where we have permissionless innovation. Let's put it that way. Yes.
Yeah, I've got a blog I've been working on smart contracts and fundamentals and how to write them and stuff like that. I've been taking a course myself on Coursera about smart contract, because I come from a development, security, engineering background, but I have a lot to catch up on the crypto side, even though like I know, these different computer science type topics and stuff. On the crypto side, I got some work to do. So I've been trying to put some of my time into that, into like, okay, like what are, like, how do smart contracts come? Where do they come from? Like, how do they work? I mentioned HEX and PulseChain and stuff like that. And how can you write one? I think there's so many people that they see smart contract, maybe they know how to look at the code on Etherscan or whatever. But if you ask them, okay, go write a test one, go deploy it on testnet, there's no way they could do it, especially not without a technical background. So I hope to knock down those gates in the smart contract world as well, because I think that's kind of something I'm into right now and fascinated with. And actually, I would say dip catcher. Looking at Maximus contract, I watched Fashion Coders. She did a code review of Maximus.
Really?
Did like a light code review. People want to look at that. And that kind of inspired me, like, man, I should know more about this. I think I'm going to be in crypto for a while. I need to know more of the crypto side and not just the technology side outside of it. Anywho, that's all. Again, a lot of information. Thank you, Steve. There is a lot of information. I credit Mr. Bloobum for that. Got another question here. Hey, Oak Hearts, nice to see you. I like your avatar too. Line of God, how would I calculate how much Icosa I will get for my HSI?
Okay, so this is how you do it. Let's say you create a HSI which is 20 T-shares, yeah, or 10 T-shares, let's say. 10 T-shares, it's going to cost you what, like 3.5, 4 grand to make a 10 T-share HSI. So let's say it's 10 T-shares, and that means that the amount of Hedron that you'll be able to borrow on that stake will be 10,000 times 5,555. So whatever that is.
Yeah.
What is,
Okay.
what's that? 4 zeros, so 5, so 1,000, so like a million,
Right.
5 million, 5.5 million Hedron. Right?
Okay.
So then you'll send that HSI, you tokenize it, you send that HSI to the Icosa contract, and that Icosa contract borrows all of the Hedron that it could on that, which is like 5.5 million. And then it's going to divide that 5.5 million by whatever the HEX share rate is on that day. And the HEX share rate, let's say it's like, at the moment, the HEX share rate is what, 22,800 HEX per T-share. So that means it'll be divided by 228,000. So that's how the HEX contract measures the share rate in that numerator. So 22,800 T-shares is equivalent to 228,000. And so, yeah, you divide 5.5 million by 228,000. That's how much Icosa you get. Plus, then if you have over, like, it'll depend on what ranking you are in terms of the Icosa system. So if you're a shark, you'll have to stake for 360 days minimum. If you're a dolphin, I think you'll have to stake for 240 days. I can't remember the exact things. And then you get a little bit of a bonus for each level as well. And so what's going to happen is that you'll send that, you'll get that Icosa, you'll have to stake that Icosa for a certain period of time. And then if you want, you can just leave it in that pool to keep collecting the interest. You don't have to take it out. So that in that way, you can stake for as long as you want. It's not really staking for as long as you want. It's you can leave it in that staking pool for as long as you want. But there'll be minimum periods depending on what your percentage of the pool is. So whales will have to spend a longer time in that pool. So I hope that answers your question. Next line.
Yeah.
And with the so that's with the Icosa stake. And the other thing is with the Icosa staking, you'll because you're getting Hedron and Icosa, the Hedron that you'll get comes from that borrowed Hedron. So the Icosa contract borrows the Hedron, so then it leaves it for 90 days to go into liquidation and it's going to auction. And that actual Hedron that it borrowed is distributed to the Icosa holders.
Very good to know.
In Hedron. So that won't necessarily be a lot of money though, because you remember like borrowing 5.5 million. Like if it costs you $3,000 or $4,000 to make a HEX stake, and you can only borrow 5.5 million worth of Hedron, which is worth nowhere near that amount of money.
Yeah.
You're going to also be highly incentivized to maybe go and buy back that stake, or buy back another stake. Because if you've got 1,000 of them all coming up, not everyone's going to be buying them all for the best price. You're going to be able to get some bargains in there, you'd imagine.
Right.
And so in that way, what you could do is you can make a nice big HSI. You'll get a whole lot of Icosa for that. You'll immediately start earning, and you'll immediately start earning on the historical burnt Hedron. So it's going to be quite high, the yield, especially at the start. And then you could just go back 90 days later with some Hedron and hopefully pick up your HEX stake for cheaper than you paid it for.
Nice. Okay.
Yes. And then that way, maybe you're only spending a bit of Hedron to get a whole lot of Icosa, because you had the HEX stake that you would pay for, you get back.
I think Bloobum is working on some pictures for this stuff. So yeah.
I'm not working on. There's some much more skilled people than me. My flowcharts are like I won't show you, but it's like me just drawing shit and like trying to explain it to myself. Like, but there's some fantastic. There's some really good people like Crypto Sloth and oh, I forgot her name already. Why did I forget her name? There's a really amazing woman in the Hedron mods who does, her and her husband do beautiful flowcharts. Crypto Krill, yeah. So I think, and also Java works on stuff, and like other people kind of. There will be some good visual aids, hopefully, and more videos, hopefully. I'm only just starting to wrap my head around it, and so now I'm just kind of starting to feel like I can talk about it and understand it enough to explain to people. But for 2 weeks, I've been kind of going, what the fuck is this?
I bet. There's a lot of moving parts, man. You're doing it.
Yeah.
I think if nothing else, we have a baseline of what's going on. I'm sure you'll learn some more stuff over time too.
Yeah, and it really does. And for people not understanding it yet, it really does just takes that repetition. You know what I mean? To have a bit of time, come back to it. Have a bit of time, come back to it, and then eventually it's like learning a new game. Like you have your favorite board game, and then they come out with the new expansion pack, and it's got all these new rules and everything like that, and you've got to work out how that affects the game, and so it's a process to understand. But then once you get it, it's kind of like, okay, I've got it now. I kind of can see the moving parts and the overall, and it's just a matter of time, and it may take a little bit longer than other things have, but it's worth it. Yeah.
Well, if your financial future is worth wrapping your head around these stuff for sure.
It's just so interesting as well. Like this is the cutting edge of finance. This is like where it's happening right here. Like all of these no admin key contracts that have been made, that's where it's at in the future, I think. Yeah. None of this stuff where you have admin keys and when you have to give you we've seen all that.
You're telling me Celsius is not the best way to do these things?
Yeah, like we've seen it all. We've been seeing all of that shit play out now, and
Celsius may be back. I don't know. Celsius V2.
Well, now, some are going to buy them now and take over. And I heard today Binance was going to buy them, or maybe what's that one?
I was on
Coinbase. Is Coinbase going to buy them or some shit? Or
hey, that's a good.
It's a lot of users. It's a ton of users. But it's kind of like, I'll just be getting my shit out of there as quickly as possible. I don't know,
I think Coinbase would be doing a lot more acquisitions had their stock not dropped insanely lately. I think they'll be scooping up some of these companies.
Well, maybe it'd be BlackRock or whatever would be stepping in and just buying up a whole lot of stuff like that.
They'll own all the houses and all the fake DeFi.
Yeah.
Or Celsius, are you fake DeFi? I don't know. I try to stay positive, but they seem to be in trouble right now. Mango Junkie, I want to say I've been staring at your picture for a few minutes, and that is an amazing tracksuit. I like that tracksuit a lot. Appreciate that tracksuit. Finn Bear is here. Hey, Finn Bear. Always nice to see you. I got another question from Kaiser. Got some good ones coming. Will the gas fees to start and end stakes be equal to HEX staking?
If you mean making a HEX stake through the Hedron contract, it's slightly more expensive to make a HEX stake through the Hedron contract than just making a native stake. And I think I'm not sure if it's the same or just a little bit more, something like that to end stake it. That's just HEX stakes through the Hedron contract. In terms of making these other stakes, I think they're going to be pretty cheap on gas. But really, I think PulseChain is going to be where a lot of all of this action happens, especially when you're able to borrow and bid for no gas costs. Like at some point, Hedron will become worthy enough to people will, like, let's say you have a big HEX stake, and what you could do is borrow the Hedron. It's very little interest that you have to pay back, and you could be staking that Hedron and be earning Icosa. And so if that amount of Icosa that you're getting back is better than what you have to pay back, then a lot of people will be borrowing. And once a lot of people start borrowing, anything they're paying back is being burnt. And so it becomes this kind of system where there's less and less Hedron, there's more and more incentive to borrow. That creates less and less Hedron. Some of that is like going into this liquidity sink of Icosa, but that's going to be highly incentivized to stake that to make sure that you're getting all of the interest. But then obviously they will have a market as well. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if that.
Yeah, I think that was probably the question. The gas fees started. Yeah, I think that's.
So the gas fees, So gas fees on an ETH, they're up and down. Like I was going to do something before, and I went and looked, and it was like 80, right? I'll wait. But normally, if you're patient, you can find times to do it. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what Hedron and Icosa and does on PulseChain, because there's not going to be that that barrier to doing stuff.
Do you think that there'll be interesting. I just thought about too, price difference on, you think there'll be parity on PulseChain, or what do you think between the ETH and PulseChain prices for Hedron and otherwise?
Well, all this happens over time, so I'm not going to say, well, at first it's going to pump, and then it's going to dip, and then blah blah blah. I just think over.
You'd be right, because that's what happens for everything always.
yeah, I guess, yeah. No, I think over the long term, the PulseChain becomes more valuable because it's cheaper it's a better user experience, it's cheaper, and so that's why I think that if it's a really good user experience and we can onboard lots of people, like, I think that PulseChain over time is what people are going to use. And Ethereum, I mean, maybe the gas cost in Ethereum will go right down. It's hard to say what will happen over time, so I don't really know. But my guess is that PulseChain will accrue more value than Ethereum because it's cheaper and faster.
Is there any coin in the RH ecosystem community otherwise plays on HEX? Is there any coin that would do better on ETH, or do we all think PulseChain is going to be the winner as far as price performance and usability stuff goes?
No, because we're in the RH ecosystem. All you're talking about is HEX or Hedron, I suppose, or Maxi.
Yeah, I meant like community projects as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, Maxi and I guess
no,
there's no mechanics on Pulse Dogecoin. There's just the meme aspect. So I guess that that doesn't quite matter as much. But I just wonder if there's any advantages Ethereum would have for any community projects that PulseChain just wouldn't be the best bet for.
I mean, I guess only in terms of, at the moment, Ethereum has a much bigger amount of people that use it, and so therefore you'd be
interesting. So the
playing to a bigger gallery, But who knows what happens over time? Yeah,
it is easier to get the token. I mean, I'm sure you will have bridges and stuff, but Ethereum would be more frictionless. There's always friction, but it would be easier onboarding, I guess, at least in the beginning. Is that would be the case?
Only if we don't have Pulse on any exchanges, but it sounds like there will be Pulse on some exchanges, which makes me think others will take it on then after that. That's going to be, onboarding and offboarding into fiat that's going to be where if it's easy to onboard into Ethereum, then people will use that. But because they'll have to learn extra things if they need to go onto Ethereum and then onto Pulse. But I don't think we'll have that problem. I think that we're going to be able to get Pulse at places. It sounds like people are already working on that, and whenever there's a need for something, people are going to feel that. And hexagons are pretty what do you call it? Entrepreneurial. They'll go out and create stuff and fix shit.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of different types of hexagons. Some are just keyboard warriors, and some everyone's doing their own different thing. You know what I mean? But I think that
it's in their best interest to do so. It's highly motivational.
They're people who are wanting to build, and they're people who are who have a bit of cash to do stuff as well, because Hex has done so well. So and then as it goes better in the future, then other people will be cashed up to do more stuff for it. So it's just this petrol growing kind of thing.
Well, I think everyone's sad PulseChain delayed all this stuff, but actually I think that's even more bullish for PulseChain, because had we launched and there had been problems, that's not a bullish case for PulseChain, is it? So now that we're delayed, that makes you could make the case that it's even more bullish, because we know that the thing's going to be rock solid when it comes out.
Yeah, I've been fine in terms of it taking longer to come out. I have a lot. I mean, I have a lot.
You were in the 1%. You were in the 1%. Me and you and a few other people. I could care less. I'm not over leveraged, but a lot of people are pretty upset. They come out mid-May. But yeah, I'm definitely in that camp too. I'm careless. It's fine.
Yeah.
It'd be nice, but like whatever. I want it to be right.
I mean, the one thing I tell onboards nowadays is like this, you've got to think you're going to be holding this stuff for at least 4 years. And so don't, like, if you're buying anything, be ready for massive volatility, you know, and if you hold for longer than 4 years, you'll probably be fine. But
don't look at the price every day.
And don't ever be in the position where you're forced to sell.
Yeah.
That's I think the biggest thing that I've learned.
Yeah.
It's like sell when you, because if you're forced to sell, you'll get a shit price probably. So
I heard the analogy the other day. I thought was pretty good. When you think about when you're buying HEX, think about when you're buying a house. You don't try and sell the house the next week, do you? That's not how it works. You buy the house, maybe a few years later you want to flip it, or a few months later you want to flip it, but you don't look at the house price every day and say, "Oh, I'm gonna sell the house. The market's looking good." Like that's not what you do, usually.
Yeah, well, houses are a lot harder to sell, I suppose. They take a lot longer time. In crypto, you just jump on your computer and bang, you've done it.
I wonder if there was a supplemental we could put into HEX that makes it really hard to sell HEX. Interesting. Maybe the wallet. Maybe the
but we need that truth engine in there. We need people fucking up so that other people can be rewarded for the different behavior.
That's true.
And then other people see that behavior, you know. And people need to make mistakes as well. We don't need to protect people from making mistakes. Like you need to get wrecked in order to learn sometimes. I've fallen for scams before. I've made really dumb trading decisions before. My latest dumb decision, I'll tell you, I'll just say this, is that because I was providing liquidity for Hedron HEX. And when Hedron was at the bottom, I had a whole ton of Hedron and only a little bit of HEX. And I thought to myself, I should probably get out of this liquidity position right now because it looks like Hedron, this could be the bottom for Hedron. But I didn't. I just left my liquidity position in there. And then Hedron pumped and all of my Hedron got turned into HEX, which was fine. This is what impermanent loss is. You know what I mean? And so
great example.
Yeah. So I think you can play into impermanent loss really smart if you think you can pull it out before any pumps are going to happen. But when the pumps happen, you eat that loss. And if it's in something like Hedron HEX, it doesn't matter too much because I like both those assets and I don't mind which one I end up with. But I could have made a lot more if I would have pulled the liquidity at the right time.
Permanent loss. There you go. Very cool. Well, it's been a pleasure, man. I think you've exhausted my questions pretty much. Thanks for taking the time. It's been I think it's sunny where you are, sunny where I'm at. Summer's here. Bear market's here, but hey, hang in there.
Man, this is such an exciting bear market. I gotta say, I couldn't give a shit about the price of Bitcoin or Ethereum. Honestly, like whatever, do dump or I don't give a shit, man. Like there's so much happening in this space in terms of Maxi, Hedron, Icosa, and HEX, that like I wouldn't be surprised if maybe HEX does dump lower, maybe they all dump lower. I don't know, but I think eventually the bear plays out and then we head into bull again. So just play the percentages and play the long-term game. You know what I mean? And don't go 100% into any of this stuff. Like learn about it and understand it, and then experiment with small amounts. Is probably what I'm doing anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Just in its terms of, if beautiful distraction, we have so many beautiful distractions in the ecosystem. So many new projects coming out. I say distraction with the most love possible. And just to get your mind off of bear, get your mind off of Bitcoin or Ethereum, they're going down to zero. Don't worry about it. Non-financial advice of any kind, you know that on the show, but look at the charts. Just look at the charts. If you feel bad, look at the historical charts.
The whole chart. The whole chart.
Click log. Do all the things. It goes up and down.
Over the long-term pattern, it's pretty clear what's happening.
It's pretty clear.
Even if we're in a big dip. and
So
play the long game. It's
treat these things like, again, like buying. You don't buy and sell. You don't watch the housing prices every day. I mean, I know there's like some like niche markets out there where you do stuff like that, but in general, don't like buy HEX, don't buy all the stuff just to flip it the next day, or I'm going to hold on until it gets a 2x, like all this stuff. All the people saying they wish they, a few months ago, oh, I wish I would have got in at 1 cent, 2 cent, 3 cent. Here's your opportunity. It's knocking on your door. If you made some good moves, you have some dry powder, you're in a good mental state to make an investment and stake and get that PulseChain HEX and all that. The opportunity is here. It's what you do with it. It's how you take advantage of it or not. This makes a difference. The decisions you make in the bear market compound. Harken back there, going into the bull market. So make
and it's also really important, like to make the best decision to whatever you have in the circumstances at that time. Like just in this last little bit when Hedron pumped and I kept my liquidity in there, and as soon as I did that, I realized my mistake, right? But then it's like, okay, that's happened. That's in the past. I've learned from that. Next time I'm going to look for this or that, blah, 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 blah. Now I'm going to reorganize my assets, knowing what I know now in this current situation, and not try to kind of like chase the gains that I lost. Just trying to come up with the best strategy for where I am at the moment in this position.
Yes, exactly. No, great advice. Great advice. All right, everyone. I'm going to go have some lunch, and Bloobum is going to go back to living a fantastic life, as far as I can tell. So thanks, everyone. Thanks, chat. Thanks, Bloobum, for coming on the show. I'll probably be. You'll still see the videos coming out, but I'll be off for a little bit as far as live streams. I'll be back though. Don't worry. Kaiza asked earlier about Bloobum's Twitter. I totally forgot to mention that. It is at Bloobum is the man, DA man. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think if you probably just search Bloobum, I'll probably just come up.
Yeah, should come up. It's got a blue ilm for Maxi.
Yeah, if you just search Bloobum, my name, then I'm the first one that comes up in mine.
Yes. And you know me, at RHMaximus, exactly the way it sounds. RHMaximus. Follow me on Twitter. Thanks for coming, Bloobum. Been a pleasure. Hope this is not the last time we speak. For sure, you are a man of many talents, ideals, and quick wit and humor. Always appreciate it.
Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate you inviting me on, and I think you're doing a fantastic show. Kick on. I love all the people you're interviewing, and yeah, thanks everyone in chat. Always love you guys. And yes. HEX on, people.
HEX on, everyone. Take it easy.